there was a weird window in there as the Saints were a late kick on Sunday where it looked like, man, Atlanta just lost. What is going on with Tampa? Are they going to lose to the Panthers? And the Saints have shut out the Rams. Like, this is going to be a Saints team that's in the playoff mix. And then it all fell apart because Carolina couldn't hold on, and the Saints could not stop Los Angeles on the ground in the second half of that football game, and the Saints lose 21-14. Kyron Williams goes over 100 yards on 15 carries, and he really didn't even bust a big one. His long in the day was 17 yards. He averaged 7 yards a pop, and the Saints just simply could not do anything to stop the Rams on the ground, and they basically didn't even try to throw the ball until a little bit later in the game. I mean, Matt Stafford in the first half threw for 23 yards. 23 yards. And that didn't work because the Rams didn't score. It was only the second time in Sean McVay's entire head coaching tenure that they were shut out in the first half. The other time was the Super Bowl against the Patriots. But in this game, they continued to stick with it, and they ended up scoring 3 second-half touchdowns to win the game 21-14. Had the little screen out to Puka Nacua. It was his only catch of the game, but he does a good job there. He had one rush. He had 5 catches in the game, 1 for that touchdown. And they didn't really get Cooper Kupp going all that much, and we thought we liked the matchup that the Saints had there on the outside, but it didn't matter because the game was decided on the inside. And then for the Saints offense, just not a lot cooking there because Taysom Hill goes out. And once he goes out, you lose a physical threat in the running game. Now we find out that Taysom Hill is out for the season. Adam Schefter reporting it is a knee injury. And you just got to wonder if that's the beginning of the end for Taysom Hill. And I hate to even say that, but you're talking about a guy that's now in his mid-30s. He plays such a physical and taxing brand of football between all the things that the Saints ask him to do, from running the ball out of the shotgun, from running kicks back to throwing passes to blocking at the point of attack. Like, there's just so many things the Saints ask him to do. And when you suffer an injury this serious and you realize what he's gone through this year, it's just a lot to ask him to come back and be the same player he's always been and do as many things as you've asked him to do. So just a gutting injury there. I thought Kamara looked good in his efforts on the ground. He goes over 112 yards, and he's now almost just about 100 yards shy of his first career 1,000-yard season, which is cool for him. But you realize the Saints are in a bit of a bind when Taysom Hill and Juwan Johnson are, again, your leading receivers, and you're having to ask Dante Pettis to make a play on a 2-point conversion. Like, you don't have the requisite players to get things done. Yes, MVS has come in and been a shot of life. He's got 4 receiving touchdowns, and he makes a nice play on that touchdown the Saints did score in the fourth quarter. But there's just not enough. And candidly, this is where I think things are with the Saints. I mentioned at the top there, like, you're looking at this thing and you're going, oh my gosh, looks like the Falcons have lost. Looks like the Bucs are in trouble. The Saints are controlling the game against the Rams. You get this thing to 5-7, and you've got a real chance. Well, now you're 4-8, and you really don't. And you don't have the talent to expect to win a lot of games down the stretch. The Saints now, in my estimation, if you're a Saints fan, you look at this and go, let's just lose out. I don't think they will, but that's my mindset. I think they'll probably win this week because I think the Giants are that bad. But it's in the Saints' best interest, in my estimation, to lose the rest of the way because you need to get as far up that draft board as you possibly can. And if you can get into the top 5, all of a sudden, it really feels like you might be in position to get a quarterback. And I don't know who you like in this draft, if you're a Saints fan or if the Saints front office or new coach likes any of these guys at the top. It's not the most highly thought of top end of the draft. It's Shedeur Sanders, it's Carson Beck, it's Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward. You understand who these names are. But all of a sudden, if you get into the top 5, like, you are very, very much in the mix to either get a quarterback or have somebody trade up to grab their quarterback, and you can accumulate some more draft picks. This is not a position the Saints have been in the last 15, 18 years. They just haven't ever bottomed out. And this team hasn't bottomed out. They may beat the Giants, and they may beat the Raiders, and they may find a way to get to 7 wins. And at that point, you're closer to the middle of the first round than you are the top. And this discussion very much changes, but I don't want it to change. I want it to stay, okay, we're at the top of this draft. We either draft a quarterback of the future, let him sit behind Derek Carr for a year, and then see what he's got, or somebody comes up to get that quarterback of the future, you accumulate some more picks, and you can start to retool this roster. Because that is where you are. There was a time there where you fired the coach, and then you win 2 in a row, and you look at the rest of the division, you're going okay. But let's stop doing that. Because we don't have that discussion if you're in a division with Philadelphia, if you're in a division with the Lions, if you're in a division with whatever team, the Ravens or the Steelers, are having a great year in the AFC North. You're not in a division with Buffalo. Like, if the Saints were in a division with these teams, we wouldn't have these lingering discussions about whether or not they can eke into the back end of the playoffs, and that's really not what you should be talking about. You should be talking about trying to get to the top of the league, and you're nowhere near that. Nowhere near it. And you haven't been since Drew Brees walked off the football field in 2020. So it's time now for the Saints to reset the whole thing, and in my estimation, again, that comes from losing some more games. So it sucks. It's not a fun conversation to have. It's not one that Saints fans have had to have for a long time. But Dennis Allen's out. You're going to go through a coaching search here, and the organization needs to take a different path. And to me, that path needs to start towards the top of the NFL draft. And so you're 4-8 right now. If you can stick around 5 wins, that's toward the top of the draft. And you can start having discussions in that building that you haven't had in a very, very long time. And yesterday that crystallized. Because in the span of an hour and a half, you went from, well, this kind of looks interesting, to, okay, tear it down. And I'm gutted for Taysom Hill, and I don't know what the future holds for Chris Olave, and you hate to see what happened to Paulson Adebo, and you hate to see what happened to Rashid Shaheed. And the injuries have just been awful. And you had another one on the interior of the offensive line. Cesar Ruiz is inactive, and then Nick Saldiveri goes down. And it's just been a disaster from that perspective. But that's not the entire reason why the Saints are where they are. There needs to be a shift. And yesterday, from the beginning of the fourth quarter, where the Rams outscored the Saints by 6 points and won the game by 7, to what happened eventually in the game between Tampa and Carolina, we now understand this is where things are. This team's not eking into the playoffs. They're going to do a coaching search. I don't think Darren Rizzi's going to be the guy. And now it's okay to lose some football games. Like, I understood where Saints fans were 3 weeks ago. Can we stop losing 7 in a row? Can we beat the Atlanta Falcons? Okay, now we've won another game against Cleveland. Okay, now we got a bye week. All right, let's see what we can do in the division. Maybe things can line up for us. That discussion's over. It's on to the next era of Saints football. And that happened over the course of an hour yesterday. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.